Yo guys, welcome back to Tim's Trades. Just on another crazy sell-off event. So we'll dive into Bitcoin maybe a wee bit on the longer term time frames and see if we can see kind of anything that is going to help us get an edge on where things are going to go. Okay, let me clean this up first of all. Cool, right. Sticking on the Gaussian channel on the 5-day because that was giving me my bias for, certainly a test to the midline, and we've gotten that already. In fact, it's wicked through, so I've got my eye on this one. I've got, the 5 days not closing for another 3 days, so that is, that's something just to kind of watch, because it can get a wee bounce from here, but if we lose this on a 5 day, then the chances are we're coming to come down here to the bottom side, and that's currently sitting at 66,175. So we've got 3 days to wait and see what happens with that. That's kind of a simple way to look at it. So let's just kill that for now. I want to just drop back on some macro fibs to give us some indication of support here and areas where we might get a bounce, and we're approaching one now. So you've got the 382, which is 73,500. So there's every chance, we get a wee bounce here. Obviously, what's bothering me and probably everybody else is the state of the stock market and kind of, is that going to bounce, and what's going to happen. This is Monday 7th, so what's going to happen when US markets open today given that. So I've been pretty cautious. I was expecting a bit of a kind of bounce before around about, prior to taking out this low here, this last March low. That's gone now. So, although, chances are we're going to get a bit deeper. That's my gut feeling, but you can't trade off the feelings. You have to kind of look for areas of interest and just watch what happens with price, So all the kind of major volatility is suggesting, further downside. So I'm watching particularly, one Eric Crown setups here, which is the weekly stochastic V's volatility. Now volatility is just getting going here, even though we got this fresh stride of hidden bullish divergence. The market's just sold off. Currently sitting on the 55. So again, that's, you can see it's just held above there, but with this volatility still expanding, I guess my bias is that we're still going to go down a little bit deeper. So I'm just kind of taking it a level at a time, as I always do, and I'm just kind of, watching. So, yeah, I feel like I can't give you any answers. Obviously, nobody can, as to where this is going to go and where it's going to bounce and stuff. But if we dive back into the shorter term time frames, we've got some ideas, with a bias that, given the weekly and expanding volatility with stochastic down, so the bias is down, but where can little bounces and stuff come in from? And I feel like we're definitely in a wee kind of area where we might get an intraday bounce here, but what I'm worried about is what happens when stock market opens today. So diving on to the super short term time frames, I'm actually looking to short the market. I'm going to start to short it at around about 77 to 79k, because I ran these fibs earlier on. So yeah, here you go. You got really from this high up here, this is now resistance, and I've got that wee box in there, but maybe 78k would be a nice. Looks like it's going to sit right under that little support that found, when was that, over midnight last night. But anywhere in this zone here is going to be ideal for a short, and that's exactly what I'm going to be doing, assuming we get that today. And it looks like, as you can see, a wee bounce is kind of emerging here. So I've got a very small long, just opened. I'd kind of opened a long and then went flat, and then saw that we lost the low, so then I got flat again, got some support, and now I'm kind of expecting a wee bounce up into this zone, and then I'm actually going to short that. So that's my plan today. Let me see if there's any other bullish divergences forming on shorter term time frames. No, but there is potentially. I shilled this on X last night, but I'm just curious if that's, obviously when you're chasing 2-day, it's going to be a long time to confirm. And again, with the same setup as the weekly, the 2 days just getting going here. in terms of expansion on volatility from lows, and stochastic is down. So this is telling me, prices are going to come deeper here. Same on the daily, down, expansion and volatility. Although there's potential for bullish divergence, this can just keep going. So we would lose that potential. It has to confirm. It'll have to confirm, by moving higher, basically, not lower. So that is basically, in a nutshell, my thoughts. And in the super short term, it's my thoughts for the day. Looks like maybe prices just tagged that. If it's super bearish, the 236 is where it would actually turn around, but ideally this 382, if things bugger around here until markets open today, we get a move up, potentially a wick getting people bullish, and then it shits the bed. If it starts closing above this 79, then maybe I'm starting to think, right, okay, maybe that was a decent bottom in there. But until that happens, let's have this 0.5 as an important area to close back above on higher term time frames, and maybe it can find some support. But given the daily, the 2-day, the weekly, these setups are for further downside, and at least 73, we got that, I showed you a moment ago, on the macro fibs, you got 73,500, below that you're 62, and below that again you're 52. I mean, that would be super bearish if it got down there. So we're, and I don't expect that would happen that would take time. It's not going to happen overnight if we do get down there. But, one level at a time. Go away. I don't want to print anything. Let's watch and wait and see if we get a reaction at that 382. And then, obviously, if that's failing on like a daily, then chances are we're going to get 62 out of it. And maybe a chance for a decent bounce here. You've got a lot of structural support on this last consolidation there. So, and the 0.5 is not a bad place for a bounce, but I'd be more inclined to buy at the 0.5, to be honest, looking at the structure, just on the structure, because you've got the last highs, in terms of higher term time frames, there's support there. You've got all that cluster on this last long-term consolidation. So, yeah, a test down there wouldn't be overly bearish in my opinion, but it's still a long way down, and there's potential money to be made on the way down. So those are my thoughts, and that's as best as I can give you for just now. If you like the content, just subscribe, and you'll get more videos. Alright, cheers guys, peace out.